fire started sometime after midnight. The neighbors would later say they heard a loud pop, like glass shattering under pressure, followed by a dog barking frantically, then silence. By the time the first flames were visible from the outside, it was already too late. But inside the small, weathered house at the end of Willow Street, 3 children were still alive. Lena, 12, Mateo, 9, and baby Grace, 4, had been asleep in the same room. Their mother, Anna, had tucked them in like always, whispered prayers over their heads, and gone back downstairs to fold laundry. She never got to finish. The fire report said it started from faulty Christmas lights, those cheap ones with frayed cords and broken bulbs, left up long after the holidays. They had been plugged in behind the old couch. A single spark was all it took. The curtains caught first, then the drywall, then the staircase. By the time Anna smelled smoke, the bottom half of the house was already an inferno. The smoke hit her like a wall, thick and choking. She screamed her children's names and ran for the stairs. But fire climbed faster than she did. She made it 3 steps up before the flames lunged forward, swallowing her legs. Her skin bubbled, peeled, and blackened before she collapsed screaming. The fire didn't stop. It roared, angry and insatiable, as though it had been waiting for this night. Upstairs, Lena had woken first. The smoke alarm hadn't worked. It had been broken for months. She smelled the burning before she saw it. The air was hot, metallic, heavy. She shook Mateo awake, her fingers trembling. "Fire," she whispered. "We need to go." Mateo jumped up groggily, coughing already. Baby Grace was still curled up, her thumb in her mouth, oblivious to the nightmare outside the door. Lena tried the doorknob. It burned her skin, seared it deep like a branding iron. She yelped and pulled back. The hallway beyond was already filled with smoke. The staircase was gone. Nothing but flames below. A wooden support beam cracked and fell with a thunderous crash. There was no way out. "Window," she told Mateo. They ran to the single window in the room, a thin pane of glass facing the backyard. It was painted shut. Years of rot and neglect had sealed it tight. Lena grabbed a chair, swung it with everything she had. It bounced off the glass with a dull thud. She tried again, and again, but the chair snapped before the window did. Behind them, the door burst open, a wave of fire chasing oxygen into the room. The flames licked across the ceiling like red tongues, hunting them. The heat made their skin crackle. Baby Grace started screaming. Then something terrifying happened. The lights flickered, but not like they were losing power. They flickered as if something passed through them. Something alive. Mateo, wide-eyed, stared at the shadows crawling up the walls. "Lena, what's that?" Lena turned. At first, she thought it was the smoke. But the shadow didn't move like smoke. It moved like a person. It breathed. A tall, thin silhouette stood just outside the doorway, its limbs too long, its head bent sideways like it had been hanged. Its eyes were 2 burning coals, redder than fire. It didn't speak, but they heard it, deep inside their heads. It wasn't just a fire. It was something inside the fire. Some say evil wears many faces. This one wore flame. Lena grabbed Mateo and Grace and pulled them into the corner. There was no escape. They were trapped. The room was glowing now, the heat unbearable. Blisters formed on their faces. The wallpaper melted like wax. Outside, nobody had come. Nobody would. They huddled together, crying. And then Lena did something strange. She smiled. Not out of peace, but defiance. "Hold each other," she told them. "Hold tight." And they did. Mateo clung to Lena. Grace wrapped her arms around them both. They became one shape, one body of pure love and fear, pressed together as the fire stormed in around them. The shadow stepped closer. It stood before them, towering. It raised a hand, and the flames responded like soldiers. But even evil paused, for just a second, at what it saw, 3 children holding each other, refusing to let go. Then everything turned black. The next morning, the fire was out. All that remained of the house was ash and charred timber. Smoke still curled from the ruins like ghosts trying to find their way home. When the firefighters finally reached the children's room, they expected nothing. But what they found stopped them cold. In the far corner of the room, untouched by flame, were the charred remains of 3 small bodies, fused together. Lena's arms wrapped around Mateo. Mateo's hand clutching Grace's foot. Their bones, blackened and brittle, were still intertwined. Even the coroner wept. But there was something else, something no one could explain. The bodies should have been dust. The heat from the fire had reached over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. There should have been nothing left. And yet, their forms remained, as if protected. Some say it was a miracle. Others say it was a message. But one firefighter, who quit the force 2 weeks later, said he saw something just before the flames died out. A tall, shadowy figure standing in the doorway of the children's room. Watching, waiting, smiling, and then it vanished. Years later, people still avoid the lot on Willow Street. Nothing ever grows there. Not grass. Not trees. Just dirt, dark and cracked, as if the earth itself had been wounded. New owners tried to build a house once. But their son, a little boy, started drawing pictures on the walls. Pictures of 3 burned children. Holding hands. Eyes hollow. The family moved out after a week. They said their son kept whispering something in his sleep. She said we held each other, so the fire couldn't take our souls. Like, comment, and subscribe for more chilling stories.